Hey everybody, my name's Ed. Okay, this is going to be a random comic book review. This is going to be a Marvel 2-in-1 from 1979. I'm actually going to read a review of this I wrote a few years back for a website called Invariant Media Junkies. I don't write for that site anymore. I don't think they're doing anything current with it in a while. This review, most of it is what I wrote in the first draft, my first or second draft that I submitted, but it has been edited a little bit by one of the guys that ran the site. So I may break character once or twice just to kind of explain one or two things about what's in the review. But I'm going to try to read it for the most part the way it's written here. Okay, so Marvel 2-in-1, Thing Battles Thundra. This is issue 5640 from 1979. Alright, so published by Marvel Comics during the 70s and early 80s, Marvel 2-in-1 was the sister title to the much more popular Marvel team-up titles starring Spider-Man. 2-in-1 featured the Fantastic Four, Thing, and various other characters from the Marvel Universe. This particular issue is not really a team-up, as the Thing, Ben Grimm, spends most of the issue battling Thundra in a time-traveling warrior from an alternative 23rd century. It also guest stars Quasar, Wendell Vaughn, and Giant Man Bill Foster. The Deadlier of the Species is part 4 of the Pegasus Project, an ongoing story arc by Mark Gruenwald and Mark Ralph Macchio. Ben, his arm in a sling, Oops, sorry. Ben, his arm in a sling from previous events, is working security at Project Pegasus, a high-tech science institute, when an unknown villain coerces Thundra into breaking into the site to leave a mysterious box inside. Less palatable to the warrior, she is also forced to ally herself with a group of superpowered lady wrestlers called the Grapplers. The time traveler is none too happy when her worst suspicions are realized, and the wrestlers prove to have a very different agenda than previously presented. Once Thunder breaks into the Institute, Ben reluctantly battles his former friend, while Quasar, also a Project Pegasus employee, and Giant Man at the lab conducting research, tangle with the other grapplers. The story, of course, ends with the grapplers' defeat, but during all the mayhem, a shadowy figure succeeds in sneaking into the complex and begins building and installing the device with parts from the box that Thunder planted. At the end, we're left wondering what role a strange, long-haired alien and his box of weirdo goodies will play in all this. I didn't write weirdo goodies. The script for Marvel 2-in-1 56 is fairly enjoyable. It's crammed full of information, action, yet feels well paced. There's also tons of exposition, typical for the time, but care is made to make the whole thing fun. The fights are exciting, and the banter is just witty enough to keep the writer engaged. The personalities of Ben, Thunder, Wendell, and Bill are nicely handled and complement each other. Unfortunately, the grapplers often come across like stock tough broads. Thankfully, their one-note characterizations don't really detract from the comic's overall tone. A definite high point is the dynamic kinetic art by George Perez and Gene Day, featuring lots of clean lines. Not much use of heavy shadows or cross-hatching, except when appropriate to convey the mood. There's none of the unnecessary over-rendering that will become fashionable about a dozen years later. The layouts are big and bombastic, obviously influenced by action artists like Kirby and Buscema. The actions are clear and well ordered. The reader might wonder why certain things are happening, but they will never be confused by what is happening. I think that was restructured. I think I just wrote originally, you won't be confused by what's happening, or something like that. George's figures are thick, solid creations that are perfectly suited for this tale. The way in which Perez depicts the grapplers as physically attractive, athletic, and well built is way ahead of its time. I didn't write that. I didn't think it was way ahead of its time. Greenwood and Macchio wanted female wrestlers, and George actually drew athletes that look astonishingly like women wrestlers that are popular today. Um, Again, we've had women wrestlers throughout the years. These are females that look as if they could stand their ground in a fight, as opposed to the skinny supermodel heroines that some artists draw today. To appreciate the difference in the two artistic approaches using today's comics landscape for comparison. Compare Adam Hughes' Wonder Woman, beautiful, athletic warrior, to Michael Turner's Wonder Woman, cute high school model type who looks like she needs to eat a sandwich. I did write that. The action cover by John Byrne and Terry Austin tops off the issue nicely. Grunwald and Macchio also weave several interesting social issues into their Marvel 2-in-1 script. I didn't write that, at least I didn't write it that way. I did write this next question. This is most definitely not a message comic, but it does give you a picture of what was acceptable and wholesome entertainment back then. You'll also get a very good idea just how far society has progressed on certain issues by the last year of the 70s decade. Definitely worthy of note is how the writers depict their female characters. Despite male heroes making a couple of comments about not wanting to hurt women, the story treats the female villains much the same as most comic book writers were handling male thugs at the time. I don't know if I wrote male thugs, but I might have. That is, the grapplers are allowed to come across as cocky brawlers, just like their male counterparts. They charge in hard and don't buckle at the first sign of resistance. The men win, but only if they've been put through a massive fight by their female antagonists. I hadn't read the previous issue of Marvel 2-in-1, but I'm pretty sure that it was during the Project Pegasus storyline that Bill Foster finally stopped calling himself Black Goliath and started using the Giant Man name. The black exploitation trend in movies had substantially ended by this time, and I'm guessing Marvel finally decided it just wasn't hip anymore to slap black in front of some hero's name just because he's African American. Although DC Comics Black Lightning is a cool character name, no matter what year it is. For people who don't know, back in the 70s, this was a thing as they were adding more and more, black and minority characters, to the superhero genre down there at Marvel and DC. A lot of characters would be black so and so, black such and such, black yakety schmackety, and I think it was just kind of the thing to do. You had these low budget exploitation movies were starring whoever, Jim Brown or whatever, and they'd be black Caesar, black shampoo, black this, black that. And I think, like I said, the comics of the time kind of went along with that trend. But by the time you get to like 1979, 1980, that's pretty much over. You know what I mean? All right. Anyway, back to the review. Other oh, other fun things hiding in this issue include Marvel Bullpen Bulletins page. There's a Stan soapbox where Mr. Lee explains why Marvel's adult fantasy science fiction magazine was required to change its name from Odyssey to Epic Illustrated. The reason being, some other publisher was using the title. There's a few paragraphs explaining that Marvel Fun and Games, which is a puzzle book, was late because Marvel had to change the print schedule at the last minute. There's also an amusing announcement for Marvel Premiere number 50, starring rock star Alice Cooper. Okay, so that's pretty much it for what I wrote. There's another, well, within that particular article, there's another review I did of another comic that I've already uploaded. It was a She-Hulk issue. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. I gotta thank you very much for watching, and everybody have a great day.